So, Rob, I want to bring you into this, and I know you joined the crypto industry recently, so I hope you've been enjoying your time here so far. I think there's probably no company more emblematic of tussling with regulators than Ripple, and I know Ripple has been making a big push abroad, including in Europe. So I'm curious from your standpoint, when you think about new jurisdictions to expand into, what are you actually looking at? And maybe you can start with Europe and share your view on what's happening with the EU.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me here, Leo, and the Blockchain Association. This has been a really interesting 2 days. Every time I come to one of these in my first 6 months, I'm learning more and more and meeting some wonderful people. At Ripple, I would say, our history of tussling with regulators is not because we're anti-regulator or anti-regulation. We actually believe regulation is a good thing, is needed. It can be a validating and legitimizing force for the industry as well as for the players within it. Some of what has come our direction has not been at our request, let's put it that way. But when I go around the world and I represent Ripple, some of the things that we're looking at, and we're a very global company, we have a footprint in 4 or 5 continents, of which I've been to in the last 6 months. And we've had really productive conversations. And a lot about what we are engaging with is about respect. Respect for understanding what the regulators on the other side are trying to accomplish, as well as their respect for what the industry is and its validness and its utility, whether it's financial institutions who we serve or consumers. And so some of the things that we look at and promote and talk a lot about are developing a global taxonomy. In the EU, for instance, in the UK, you see definitions of things like payment tokens, utility tokens, security tokens. Right, that's one thing that I wish that we had a little bit more of a discussion here in the United States. You look at the FIT21 Act, which a lot of discussion has been on. Everything from Pepe the Frog to Bitcoin to XRP is kind of lumped in together, and there are very different uses and utilities for those tokens. So I believe a lot of the jurisdictions globally have taken that approach where they define it by kind of what is the token's utility, what's its function. Secondly, I think what we also look at is, to the extent they have a principles-based approach. Is it flexible? There's been a lot of talk about innovation in the industry, right? Some of the things that have been concerning and talked about, say, with what Deputy Secretary said yesterday is this, and Hester and Commissioner Peirce brought this up, is this technology focused, right? We really should be looking at technology neutral type of regulations and looking at what is the principle we're trying to achieve here, right? And then applying what a lot of people say, same activity, same risk, right? Type of approach to it. I think we see this in Bermuda, right? And so those are kind of 3 things, and then we love sandboxes. I love the fact you mentioned sandboxes. I tend to look at, and hopefully, and I'm always an optimist, and people who know me know this, part of what we're seeing play out in the United States is with the state legislation is a little bit of a sandbox approach. But in a lot of regulatory jurisdictions across the world, whether it's Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, in areas in Asia Pacific, as well as some of the areas that we're seeing with, in Brazil and others, there is a sandbox approach. And I think that's very helpful, provided there's an exit, and you mentioned this, provided you can go from the sandbox to an exit to a full-fledged kind of service. So those are the things that we take into account, but a lot of it is fundamental. It's respect for what the country's regulators have to do, and then their respect for kind of, the businesses that we want to run and the services we want to provide.
So yesterday we heard